But all of them, you know, I never had a good relationship with other teams' players. I never was comfortable with doing that. But now that I know a few of the guys, it was fun to compete against them.
Interview 00 So Chusu Chuzu Jiao 0.151 of the best athletes to ever play on the court is Larry Bird. A famous competitor who turned the Boston Celtics into a formidable team, he was a 3-time NBA champion and 3-time MVP. This is where Larry Bird comes in, though. He was demanding to be respected. And he learned the hard way why he was known as the Hick from French Lick, from any player who was stupid enough to make fun of him or question his greatness. Let's examine 6 notable instances where basketball players disregarded Larry Bird and later came to regret it. Xavier McDaniel, popularly known as X-Man or the face-to-face challenge gone bad, was one of the most aggressive and fearless basketball players of the grungy 1980s. Daniel McDaniel never gave up, but his one and only game against Boston Celtics ace Larry Bird demonstrated why attempting to intimidate the star was a grave error that McDaniel would quickly come to regret. In a heated regular season game between the Boston Celtics and the Seattle Supersonics, McDaniel made the decision to confront Bird in person during a timeout. He said, "I've got you locked down, Larry," to the huddled Bird that towered over him. "Today, you're not going to score." Although McDaniel's trash talk was audacious, it was obvious that he didn't fully understand the situation. Everyone who has faced Bird knew what was coming, even though he was at ease at the time. Larry was going to punish him. Like a man on a mission, Bird returned to the court as the break came to a conclusion. The very next time he had the ball, he yelled for it, looked at McDaniel, and blasted a fadeaway jumper over his arms. Whispering something to McDaniel that only the two of them could hear, Bird jogged back on defense as the Celtics bench erupted in shouts. However, Larry wasn't finished yet. He continued coming. "I know that I'll be waiting," I added. And he declared, "I'll get it right here. I'm going to aim it directly at you." 10 seconds, Bird is in possession of the basketball. He aimed a bullet directly at my face. And, you know, he said, "I didn't mean to leave 2 seconds on the clock." There should be no seconds left on the clock when he shot it. Like damn, I plummet back to the sidelines. With his unique moves and outstanding offensive execution, Bird destroyed McDaniel in play after play and shot after shot. Bird finished the game with a blistering 38 points, completely destroying McDaniel's self-assurance and defensive swagger. However, Bird's scathing remarks were perhaps more painful than the scoreboard. According to reports, Bird turned to McDaniel as the clock was winding down and remarked, "You couldn't lock me down if I was in a cell." As a reminder that confronting Bird was a mistake that would not be quickly forgotten, the phrase would remain in the X-Men's memories for a long time after their encounter. The nasty playmaster, Bill Laimbeer, as one of the dirtiest basketball players in history, Bill Laimbeer was not afraid to get physical, particularly with Larry Bird. The notorious bad boy for the Pistons enjoyed causing trouble for opponents by elbowing, shoving, and fouling them outright. That being said, Bird was not easily rattled. The matchup between these two bitter rivals in 1985 during a regular season game stands out as one of their most furious encounters. It all began with a shoddy shot that Laimbeer would later come to regret. Laimbeer brutally elbowed Bird in the face early in the game as he drove toward the rim, sending him to the ground. Everyone in the crowd let out a gasp. It was overlooked by the referees. However, Bird remained unfazed. Wiping himself clean, he refocused and went about destroying Laimbeer and the Pistons with the icy accuracy of a basketball killer. Bird played like a man on a mission from that point forward. Now that it was personal, Bird let his rage run wild in every manner imaginable. Bird gave Detroit a performance that would never be forgotten throughout the game. 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and 42 points. From crucial three-pointers to mid-range jumpers, he made dagger after dagger. Bird's trash talk was as sharp as his shooting, and he didn't keep it to himself when he told Laimbeer that every bucket felt like payback. Bird allegedly remarked, "You mess with me, you're going to pay," during a timeout, with assurance passing the Pistons bench. The scoreboard wasn't the only indicator that Bird had won by the last siren. It was the defeated expression on Laimbeer's face. With skill, perseverance, and an irresistible show of basketball prowess, Bird had degraded him instead of using violence. The quiet treatment of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said more than words could. Kareem had already won numerous MVP honors and titles, making him an NBA icon. He had performed with legends like Magic and taken on the most formidable opponents of his time. As a result, Kareem wasn't quite prepared to elevate the Celtic star to the same level as Larry Bird when he began dominating the NBA. In interviews with players, he reportedly expressed doubt and minimized Bird's influence. In Kareem's opinion, Bird's ascent was more hype than real. Bird answered without uttering a word. He left the talking to his game. Bird proved himself in the 1984 NBA Finals, where he silenced any skeptics, including the legendary Kareem. It was the Lakers against the Celtics game. On the biggest stage, two juggernauts clash. Bird improved his game to an unprecedented level, but Kareem finished the series as dominant as ever. He controlled the finals rather than merely playing in them. Bird demonstrated his flexibility and clutch play throughout the series by averaging an unstoppable 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 3.6 assists. A masterpiece was the fourth game. As the Celtics rallied for a thrilling victory in overtime, Bird's unrelenting scoring and rebounding outweighed Kareem's contributions. Game 7, which was a turning point for Bird and the Celtics, then came. Bird sealed Boston's title with 20 points, 12 rebounds, and a laser-like focus on the game. Bird was so dominant that Kareem could only watch from the opposition bench. Recognizing that he had undervalued the man who made the Celtics a consistent contender, Kareem changed his mind after the series. He publicly commended Bird and acknowledged that he is a competitor on a level I didn't anticipate. Bird not only gained Kareem's admiration, but also cemented his status as one of the game's greatest players. The show emphasized Bird's capacity for high-pressure performance, his unparalleled resilience, and his talent for above question when it counted most. The one-court battle that got out of hand was Julius Erving. Bird was not scared to push limits, which occasionally resulted in heated exchanges like his legendary altercation with Dr. J in 1984. One of the most intense games of the season was taking place between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Bird was doing more than simply controlling the game that evening. He was engaging in a lot of trash talk, which he had mastered as a tactic in his mental combat. Bird is believed to have said, "Julius, you're washed up. I'm too fast for you anymore." It was as though prodding an already irritated Irving wasn't enough. However, he continued to make verbal insults. He let his game do most of the teasing instead. With ease, Bird threw bucket after bucket over Irving and whomever else the Sixers attempted to throw at him. He was on fire. Bird scored 42 points by the end of 3 quarters. Bird and Irving's tension boiled over as each shot he made fueled the flames. It would turn out to be one of the most notorious altercations in NBA history. Irving became irritated and was pushed over his breaking point. He promptly rushed in to separate them after grabbing Bird by the neck during a brawl in which both players started punching each other with teammates. The crowd was in disbelief. Both of these athletes were legendary. Game icons engage in physical combat in addition to skill-based combat. Bird refused to give up, and although the altercation was eventually broken up, the damage had already been done. It was long before fists began to fly that Bird had won the mental fight. That evening, the Celtics easily won, and Bird solidified his reputation as a trash-talking strategist who could crush opponents on the scoreboard while mentally burying them. Usually more refined and calm, Irving felt bad about allowing his feelings to overpower him. It was more than just playing basketball for Larry Bird. It was about being the owner of the entire Isaiah Thomas contested from the mental edge until the last buzzer. The backfire of the trash talk. One of the hottest stories in basketball history is the rivalry between Isaiah Thomas and Bird, a contest of ability and fierce competition that could only take place in the NBA's intense environment. Bird's Celtics and Isaiah's Pistons squared off in the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals, which was the turning point in this rivalry. Over the course of the series, Bird maintained Boston's championship form by leading his team past Detroit's formidable defense night after night. He was an additional level of dominance. Isaiah's frustration flared after a tough defeat, and he made a controversial post-game statement that rocked the sports world. According to Thomas, if Larry Bird was black, he'd be just another good guy, discounting Bird's excellence and sparking a controversy that made headlines. There was an instant pushback. Supporters, pundits, and athletes criticized Isaiah for disparaging Bird's extraordinary skill and disparaging a player who is considered to be among the greatest of all time. Bird didn't publicly reply. For the court, he reserved his energy. That series' pivotal moment came in Game 5. Bird's play spoke louder than words, and it was his response. The Bird took flight with a outstanding performance with 9 assists, 12 rebounds, and 36 points. Every highlight shouted redemption in front of a bewildered Pistons team, and every basket fueled a raging Celtics triumph. Bird was unbeatable, whether he was draining clutch baskets, threading needle passes, or collecting rebounds, and he made sure Isaiah couldn't ignore it. Isaiah immediately attempted to retract his comments after realizing his error, claiming they were a joke that had been taken out of context. "I didn't mean any harm." Later, while trying to control the damage, he declared, "Larry Bird is one of the best players ever." But the truth was already established by Bird. No story could adequately describe his greatness. The rookie, Dennis Rodman, oversight. Dennis was brave, brash, and eager to establish himself when he joined the league. Dennis possessed a lot of confidence as a rookie with the Detroit Pistons, sometimes too much for his own good. Rodman erred when he called Larry Bird overrated in an interview during his rookie campaign, saying that his success was solely due to his brilliant teammates. Although it was a daring declaration, it wasn't the best one. It's probable that Rodman was still unaware of Bird's ability to use contempt as fuel capable of setting anyone who misjudged him on fire. Bird didn't say anything in response. He hardly ever required. Rather, he awaited the chance to demonstrate to Rodman why it could have been the worst move of his early career to label him overrated. Their subsequent encounter provided that chance, and Bird's performance instantly became a classic. The rookie is meant to be humbled by a basketball mastermind. Bird dominated the game with his trademark swagger and accuracy, scoring 34 points, pulling down 15 rebounds, and dishing out 8 assists to scorch the Pistons. Despite being assigned to protect Bird, Rodman was unable to stop Bird as the Celtics great made clutch jumpers, flawless passes, and unbelievable fadeaways. The Celtics had won handily by the time the final buzzer sounded, and Rodman had discovered an unpleasant lesson. Not that Bird was overrated. He could not be stopped. Every legend is put to the test at some point, and Larry Bird conquered all obstacles. These tales tell of a guy who, by his unwavering greatness, courage, and determination, deserved respect. Bird accomplished more than just winning matches. He shattered egos and controlled minds. And the response was always the same for anyone stupid enough to doubt his legacy. They immediately regretted it. Is it possible for all of these players to concur that Larry Bird is one of the top 5 NBA players of all time? Please share your opinions in the comments section. Okay, that's it for today. Remember to click subscribe, and I'll see you in the next